Hi, Ruth. Tell me about your time playing The Division this week. I hear it's a real glitch festival.
I feel gross. I feel really, really gross.
You played with some friends. You had a good time.
I still feel gross. It's like one of those things where like you know what you're doing is just a complete waste of time. You could be doing something way better with your time, but you just stick it out and keep doing it.
It's nice weather on the weekend as well.
It was beautiful, yeah. I actually made myself go outside twice because it was just like, this is dumb. What am I doing?
So explain to me what you're doing. You're playing The Division with some of your buddies. I heard from Aaron, who has been playing The Division basically nonstop since it came out.
Yeah.
With a bunch of you guys kind of have been on and off. I hear there's a bunch of sort of exploits going on there, but it seemed like that stuff really cranked into high gear around the end of last week.
Well, I mean, it's been going on at least throughout the entire duration that I've been playing the game. And I think I started playing a lot on Thursday, maybe Wednesday of last week, pretty aggressively, multiple, 2 to 3 hours a night. And then on the weekends, man, I'm just playing it all day. But I was playing with some guys, and it's just crew I run with, and they're always like geared out to the max. And
did you also play with them in the crew?
No.
Another popular Ubisoft title?
No.
Okay.
No. I never even played
Didn't
that
go
game.
across. No, that's a fucking lie. You did with me and Andy.
Well, I mean, that was the only time I played it. When we tried to go to San Francisco to visit our hometown.
It was great.
Didn't we go to E3?
We did. We finished at the Moscone Center.
Right.
Anyway, sorry. The Division.
Anyways, so I play with these guys. They're both geared. All a good crew of people. And essentially they showed me a bunch of exploits. Like what people have been doing, I guess, for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maybe since the game's come out. I have no idea. But it was bizarre stuff where like the Incursion just came out. So that's a new DLC they released. And I had never beaten the Incursion on challenging.
Okay.
And what you're seeing right now is the actual glitch itself. So, but the idea is you go down this ladder, you go through this tunnel, and you can just skip everything you have to worry about in terms of like these 15 waves of enemies coming, and then using some weird like cover glitch where you go from one cover to the next, you can climb up basically through the world into this nebulous blue room, like maybe a part of the game that Massive will expand upon in some later DLC.
Yeah, there's a hobo there out there that you could have gave stuff to. So
if you give her a bottle of water, she'll give you like an article of clothing
or a gun.
Like, it is like a city environment, but anyways, you go around and then you can actually see this weird gray wall where you can actually see where you're supposed to be. You see the APC, and you can just go up there and just start firing sticky bombs at it.
Which usually has like waves of stuff around it.
Yeah,
right?
so once you initiate that, you get like 15 waves of enemies. I think the Incursion itself on challenging, again, I've never successfully done it on challenging, but I know it can take people up to an hour, if not more, right?
Yeah, it's probably longer if your group's not that strong, because there's like way higher level enemies and whatnot. It's just that... Like last week's glitch was already kind of bad, but this one that Ty showed me, I was just like, this is pretty ridiculous. You're climbing a fake ladder through the world.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're shooting the APC through like an invisible wall, so to speak.
And the NPCs can't get to you.
So you just said this week's glitch. So it's like they're like DLC drops. What was last week's glitch?
Last week's glitch, you could just use the barricade type thing, or if you had two people, you could kind of shield glitch each other through a wall in the Incursion.
Right.
And the way that worked was like, okay, as long as you don't go through the main window, none of the enemies see you or like do anything to you as long as you don't go to a certain area.
Yeah.
And you're just stand right next to the APC and you just sticky mod it till it dies.
Yeah.
But this week's new exploit, which I have no idea how people figure this out. They must be like testers or something.
Again, the crew I was with, I don't know where they learned.
They heard it from a dude.
They just showed me.
Heard it from a girl who heard it from a guy.
By the way, there's also multiple ways to do that exact glitch. It's currently, I don't even think it's fixed as of today. But there's multiple ways to do it. They just showed me this way. Through the world, you walk up this invisible ladder, and then you start firing your sticky bomb at it. But I will say this. With a group of 4, and if you're all decked out with high skill power, you can take that thing down in like 30 minutes.
And you can still get around to pick up your drop afterwards?
So what happens is, especially if it's a weekly challenge, you get your reward immediately, which is like a level 240 piece of gear. And then you can actually fast travel to the beginning of the mission.
Right.
Go down the sewer like you were going to normally do, go all the way to the beginning.
And it's like empty then?
It's empty because it's like, oh, you beat it. You're done, and your drop is still there.
So I saw one earlier today as well that had somebody glitching into a wall in the dark zone.
That was the safe zone glitch now.
Okay.
Where apparently you can, again, the same wall hack method that Eric was talking about.
Yeah.
And the first time.
Is it just a deployable cover thing? There's just loads of weird exploits happening with that thing?
Yeah. I mean, that's what people are using now to just go through any wall essentially at this point. And I believe there's even more glitches where you can get into the get into that weird, again, blue room, white room level area where you can like shoot through walls. But that's what this person's doing in this one, where they can go into the safe house without actually entering it using that mobile cover glitch, and then they can shoot players as they're trying to enter the safe zone. Like, this particular safe zone too has a vendor that sells high-end gear. So if people are going there to like either restock on ammo or get high-end gear, they can get shot and killed.
Dope.
And at that point, the guy that's doing the glitch can level up his rank in the dark zone. I don't know how fast or effective it would be, but essentially they're just going rogue and then outlasting their rogue timer or manhunt timer.
All right. So let's step back away from this for a second, then, because like obviously we can shout and say, "Oh my God, this game's broken," blah 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 blah. Like glitches are part and parcel of a lot of online games. You've played a lot of Destiny. Does this, like, there were exploits within a lot of the, like Vaulted Glass and stuff. There was like ways of you could like skip through parts and whatnot. Like, to be honest, like when I think about like WoW raiding, that was almost part of the challenge. Was like, finding out like the best tactic and like glitching. Going through walls is one thing maybe, but like being able to like skip certain parts of Molten Core was always like a good thing. Does this seem more egregious in The Division?
It's only more egregious because of how the system or how the game works. So right now, Incursion, which is the thing that's getting exploited the most, is offering players the highest tier of loot that you can get in the game. And I think it's like currently the only place you can get it. So of course people are going to exploit it, right? Because it's like, not only is it so much faster than doing it normally, but it's really the only place you can get it at.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's kind of almost like there's something wrong with the design of the game, potentially, only because like it's such a loot-driven game, and this exploit is basically really harming the game because you have your demographic that like the hardcore or whoever that are exploiting all the time, and then you have your casual players or your people that have high ethics and they don't want to exploit, and then they're like, well, like Massive should punish these people, and like the community manager I think at Massive has even come out and said like they're looking into punishing people, but it's like weird because you can't really do that because it's in the game, right? It's in your game. You have to fix your game.
Well, it's like there's a difference between like rage quitters in Street Fighter V and then people who are basically taking exposing the holes in your product. Which is what's happening here.
This is people, in my opinion, at least talking to the people I play with, I ask them why they did it, and like it's like leveling the playing field, right?
What drove you to do it?
Well, no, it's an interesting question to pose to somebody because I don't have all day to play this game, and I'm a casual player, like these people are playing hours and hours a day. But the main response I got to that was, this is the only way I can even catch up and at least somewhat compete in the dark zone when people are out there with super high-end gear, and there's like, they have like really high armor capacity. They can basically take a ton of damage, and when they're in the dark zone, just wrecking shop, going rogue and annihilating people. It's like if you want to catch up, if you want to compete, and you don't want to die immediately, you kind of have to do it. It's like it's like the Tour de France in cycling. It's like everyone's doping, so I'm gonna fucking dope. Because I want to compete. And if everyone's doing it, then you have to do it.
I love it. You're the Lance Armstrong of the division.
Exactly, with one testicle. It's just. It is annoying though, granted I agree with Eric. Like they have to fix this. This is the problem, but it also speaks more to their design of the dark zone because at least in Destiny, when you play multiplayer, everyone's kind of like on the same level. More or less.
It's like team deathmatch basically.
Yeah, it's like skill, right? Whereas it's cool that the Division has like this unique dynamic where like you can go in there and wreck shop, but like if you have people that are just getting all this monster gear and they can't be killed easily and they're annihilating everybody, then it's like, what happens to the Dark Zone at that point?
I mean, the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone always seemed like just this, not like an afterthought, but almost like they had that grand scope idea of what they wanted the Division to be. This sort of like immersive, always connected online game with like these, you can pal up with people, but you might run into other people, which was not the game they ended up launching. And it always felt like the Dark Zone was just this kind of like remnant, like this leftover part that's sort of like stuck to the rest of the game. So
I think what's interesting about this is when I used to be in game dev briefly for like 18 months, and I remember like when the game launched that we were working on, devs can be...
Loadout, go buy it now.
Loadout, yeah. I don't even know if it's for sale still or even available. But I know that there's a temptation to devs to just react to everything really quickly, right?
And like feedback from the community?
Yeah, like they'll just kind of, especially if it's like a smaller dev.
Right.
But if you go to Reddit on Division, it's insane, right? It's a lot of people complaining, and some of it's rightfully so. Some of it's just kind of like, hey, like this is the state of the game, calm down. But I think there is this tendency for devs to react really quickly to things, and I think that's kind of what Massive is doing sometimes. Because like, there are times where I thought maybe they thought the game was too easy, so they made it super hard. They made people, and then
after the beta, that happened.
Yeah,
very quickly.
And then even after this latest patch, like. You know, I remember playing the game going like, man, I'm like a lot more. I'm like a piece of glass now. It's like, you know, one bullet and I'm dead. Like these guys are shotgunning me. Like these are just NPCs. Like these are regular people.
So you're saying that like they're like papering the cracks, but in doing so, it's like somewhere else. It's not.
It's possible. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm not saying that's exactly what they're doing, but I know that they're quick to react, and I know that the game has definitely changed, like up and down, kind of all over the place since I started playing it.
Yeah.
So. I'm a little concerned that maybe they're being too reactive. I don't know. I mean, it's just again like I have to imagine Massive has a pretty big squad, and this is, by the way, this is like a completely different game than I worked on, so it's like, you know, not even the same. But it's interesting to see how they're trying to fix everything.
I mean, this is going to be a very hard time for them, like just in terms of like now and what they've had and like what they have upcoming, because they're at a point where their fan base is starting to kind of get, you know, more critical, more upset, and they might lose player base, right? And they got to figure it out. Like Destiny, it took them a year for them to finally kind of get it like good, like figure out quality of life stuff and whatnot. Like, and I'm afraid, like I stopped playing the Division already, but part of that's because I don't have a crew that I run with normally. But like even then, it's like you're min-maxing so hard on these like pieces of gear, and that's why people are exploiting. It's because like for you to get the best gear, it kind of takes exploiting to get it, because like to do it normally you just got to get super lucky, and it would take like forever, to be honest. And I don't think they found that balance yet of like what is good. They keep experimenting, and sometimes it's almost like they have too many knee-jerk reactions. But
guess what, if the core gameplay was more fun, that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
This wasn't just some like
I mean, like I don't
slog of a shooter. Like it's fine. It's a fine game. But like what we're talking about is that their like variable ratio schedules just don't work good enough. Where they're not like rubbing your belt, they're not tapping on rubbing your back enough to get you through what is basically a slog if you're to play it over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why people played WoW raids and like took like for better or for worse, it took 6 hours of their evenings and did it like 5 days a week. Like people don't do that in these games because the gameplay's not there, right? Because that's not that type of game.
Well, it's weird. That's what I'm saying. Like before this recent patch, I actually enjoyed the gameplay. Like, I mean, granted, I had a pretty good squad I was teaming up with day in and day out every night, you know, after work and on the weekends. It was a lot of fun. And I thought the gameplay was like, we were just running. It was weird because we were running the same missions a lot, you know, like these weekly challenges and like everything on challenging mode. It was super fun to do. But I never felt like it was really, really boring. And then this patch happened and the incursion happened. And then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, this game got like insanely, to me at least, it got more difficult.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, like Eric said, the only way to get this good gear is to do this, at least in an optimal time, is to exploit, you know? And everyone's doing it. So like, what do you do in that situation? Do you just follow the same path, or do you try to do it
if somebody else jumps off a bridge, do you jump off a bridge, Ty?
What's down there?
Some sick loot. Tyrone, Eric Tay, thank you so much for coming on and talking The Division.
Of course.
I mean, the fact that we're still talking about The Division and it's almost been out for 2 months says one thing, and you know we're still playing it, so can't be all that bad. Let us know what you think of The Division and its glitch festival that's going on right now in the comments below.